Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Joshua Pritzkin, PhD and an internal family system certified practitioner and author of Religion Onboarding by Belief. He counsels individuals and couples in Oregon. Before that, he spent years on Wall Street building financial software, then earned his PhD in quantitative psychology from the University of Virginia. He's also the grandson of Nathan Pritzkin, creator of the Pritzkin Health Program. Joshua, welcome to Control or Be Controlled.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, Joshua, I would also like you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, okay. So, like everything Darlington said, yes, that seems accurate. And what else would I add? So this book I've written, Religion Unburdened by Belief, it was inspired by a book by James Carse. He wrote The Religious Case Against Belief, and I found his book very insightful, but I felt like he dropped the ball about halfway through, and so I felt like I could finish the project he started, and that's what my book aspires to be. Let's see, and in terms of self-development and having control of your own life, like I think the most important thing is the idea of working with your parts. Like is your audience familiar with internal family systems?
All right, thank you so much, Joshua. So, how can I measure my emotion skills?
Right. So in internal family systems, this is a talk therapy modality, a psychological model that's used in talk therapy that was developed some decades ago by Dr. Richard Schwartz. And Dr. Schwartz was trained as a family therapist, but in his work with his individual clients, he noticed that they his eating disorder clients would talk about their inner landscape as if in a way that was analogous to his work in working with families. Like he would his patients would describe sub-personalities within themselves. Maybe a sub-personality that wants to eat, another that doesn't want to eat, and then maybe another part that is shaming them for being stuck in this cycle of eating disorders. So Dr. Schwartz noticed this analogy between our literal family, like where you have parents and brothers and sisters, and then also our inner family where we have sub personalities. And his idea was if we can improve the relationship between our sub personalities, then that could improve our psychological prognosis. So maybe I should explain what I mean by parts. So the easiest way to understand parts is if you think of a moment when you had mixed feelings. So suppose you're driving to work late. So a part of you wants to get there on time. Maybe a part of you is afraid of law enforcement, and maybe another part is frustrated with yourself for not leaving for leaving late to begin with, for not leaving enough time to get there. So internal family systems is a way of getting to know. It's like a system for systematically getting to know these parts of ourselves and developing a more harmonious relationship between them.
Okay, Joshua, thank you so much. So, talking about psychedelics, how can we get the most out of psychedelics? And for those who are hearing about psychedelics for the first time, I would like you to talk about what psychedelics is.
Okay. Well, so my book advocates for a progressive approach because psychedelics can be very challenging if you're not prepared for them. So what I recommend in the book is to start with talk therapy to get to know your parts, and then get started with the practice of meditation. And the book offers some specific guidance about how to meditate in a way that will develop your effortlessness, your ability to sit effortlessly with your parts. And then after that, then if you're comfortable with meditation, at that point, um, then it may be safe to try cannabis. And once you and I'm talking about a specific blend of cannabis, not just the typical THC and CBD variety, but a specific recipe that has an equal amount of CBD and CBN, which is I feel is easier for beginners because it doesn't cause the munchies like the extreme hunger. Um, so this this cannabis blend is very relaxing, easy for beginners, and once you're comfortable with that, then then I think it would be okay to try classical psychedelics like psilocybin or LSD or ayahuasca. That these are affect our serotonin system, and these are the psychedelics associated with the serotonin 2A receptor.
All right, Joshua, thank you so much for breaking down psychedelics so easy for people to understand. So, do we have a religious duty towards large language models? This question is very, very funny, though, because it's hard to see the relationship between religious duty and LLMs.
Okay, so you don't see the connection?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, well, okay, let me break it down for you. Um, so let me see. So there's this technique called externalization that psychologists use when they're working with children. And the idea is that children have a hard time talking about what's happening at home. But what you could do is you can put them in front of a sand tray with some, play characters, little animals or toy characters that they can manipulate, and then they can tell a story about uh, involving these characters, and that could give the play therapist some insight into the psychological challenges that the children are facing at home. And the reason I'm mentioning this idea of externalization is because I think these AI models are acting in a similar, they're performing a similar psychological function for us. They're allowing us to recognize intelligence as being something that's outside, that's not that's not inherent in our personality. So we, before AI, we might say that a person is intelligent or foolish or stupid. But after we're exposed to AI models, then we can say that instead of a person being intelligent or lacking intelligence, we could say that they have intelligence or do not have intelligence. So it's intelligence is something you have, not something you are. And this may seem like a small shift, but it actually has profound implications. So you might wonder, well, um, here, let me take an example. Suppose that you were instead of interviewing me, you were interviewing someone like Elon Musk. Like, how would that be for you as an interviewer? Would that make you nervous or?
Okay, Joshua, thank you so much for helping me to understand the relationship between religion and LLMs. So, I want you to break down internal family systems for me and my
Whoa, wait a
audience.
second. You have to answer my question. Like, what if you were interviewing someone? famous and wealthy like Elon Musk, like how would that affect you? Like, would you be nervous about the interview or?
Yeah, I think at first we'll be nervous about the interview at first. Then when we get into the interview, we begin to settle and understand. I get into the flow of the interview. But at first, before the interview, I will be nervous, definitely.
Okay, okay, right. And I think that's a reasonable reaction because we're seeing these, like Elon Musk, his wealth, his intelligence, like these are markers of evolutionary fitness. Like, so it makes sense that because he's so wealthy and intelligent, like he's like a the most deserving of the grace of evolution, and people that lack those qualities, lack the intelligence, lack all that wealth, like they are less deserving of 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 life itself. Like um, that their life doesn't matter, right? So that's like an evolutionary way of looking at valuing people, and what artificial intelligence is doing is it's giving us a chance to question that and to consider, well, maybe maybe we shouldn't look at Elon Musk that way. Maybe we should look at uh, um, intelligent people as people that have intelligence, and other people like the common man is a person who has less intelligence, but when we can access these LLMs, then like intelligence is no longer such a differentiator. Like we can all have access to this tremendous intelligence. So it has this opportunity to level the playing field, like provide more equity about how we understand each other as human beings that have access to intelligence, whether we're intelligent or not.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, when you asked me that question concerning Elon Musk, I guess everyone would also be, they will definitely be nervous. I don't think there's anyone who would not be nervous.
Yeah, I mean it's very ingrained. Like our society is so um, has such a strong assumption that we go to school for 12 or 16 years. Education is so highly valued. Like it's so important to be intelligent. Like to call someone stupid is not just like a factual judgment, but an insult, right? And so this the idea that people are intelligent or not intelligent is something that's it's very ingrained in our social assumptions, and anything that can challenge that opens the way for a more compassionate way of seeing each other. Is because we're all alive and we're all living in this world, and we all deserve some common dignity.
All right, Joshua. Joshua. So I want you to break down internal family systems.
Okay, breakdown like okay, so maybe I should talk about the difference between blending and unblending. Would that, because that's like a key distinction in my mind for how internal family systems works. Should I talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so let me just, this is best understood through example. So I'm just going to give, like talking about my own inner world here. When suppose I have a part of myself that's very nervous about doing interviews, if I let that part take over and become blended with it, then that means it's controlling my behavior, and I might like freeze up or forget what to say. But if I can stay unblended from that part, then I still feel its anxiety and discomfort with doing interviews, but I can reassure it and since I've worked with that part before, it trusts me and it knows it doesn't have to take over and control my behavior. And so that's like a key thing that we need to develop if we're going to be in to be self-led, to be in control of our own lives, is to as much as possible to develop trust with our between the parts in our internal system, so they don't feel the need to take over and control our behavior.
All right, Joshua, thank you so much. So, what happens at a Santo Daime ceremony?
Okay. So the chapter 7 of my book takes the Santo Daime tradition as a case study and goes into great detail about what goes on in the ceremonies. So um, just um, if you just looking at it from the outside, what happens is there's a serving of daimi, which is a psychoactive tea, and then we're singing hymns for some hours, like maybe 6 or 8 hours of singing hymns together. So that's what's going on the outside. But the what's going on in the experience, like the subjective experience, the inner experience of people, is the psychedelic tea is um, it's basically guiding people to focus inside on exploring their own internal psyche. So to um, focusing on the inward, on memories um, um, or visions of what might happen in the future. And so the discipline of being in the Santo Daime is uh, to turn away from that the the psychedelic tide, the tide towards the inner experience, to turn away from that and to, as much as possible, remain connected to the group. So that means keeping track of what the lyric, what lyrics we're singing, being on being synchronized with the rhythm, and um, moving in the using your body to move in the prescribed way. Sometimes we have dancing works, so that we're singing and dancing, and the dancing is like precisely choreographed, so everyone has to be doing exactly the same thing at the same time. Does that make sense?
Okay, Joshua. So, talking about your book, what is the funniest thing in your book?
Well, okay. Well, the funniest part is probably the last chapter, where which is like where I do like a parody of a religious leader that has become somewhat corrupt. And so the idea is that to do satire and parody of other religious traditions.
Okay, so if there's one thing you wish listeners to take away from this conversation, Joshua, what would you want that to be?
Well, that self-development doesn't have to be haphazard or accidental, but you can. There's the process that I set out in my book. Like it should be a very straightforward exercise to place yourself in a progression of progressive challenge where you can predictably and reliably um, uh, follow develop yourself towards self-leadership, towards um, greater trust among your internal parts that will allow you to express yourself with greater freedom as far as you want to develop that.
Okay, so is there one question you wish I would have asked you that I did not ask you?
Yeah, so you asked me about Santa Daime, but I feel like that was just hanging, like it wasn't clear how the Santa Daime, like what the psychological analysis was, like why does the Santa Daime support self-development?
So go on. What would the answer be to that question?
Okay, so uh, the kind of situation you find yourself in at the Santa Daime is very similar to what you would confront when you're practicing meditation. So when when you're doing meditation, then you're asked to um, sustain your attention on a focus, say you're on your breath, and then as parts come up, you're asked them to step back to give you to not be a distraction, and so you return your attention back to your focus. And so in the Santa Daime, it's like the same process, but the stakes are higher because of the psychoactive effects of the drug of the tea. So meditation would be a good starting point for people who are interested in eventually exploring the Santa Daime.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you for sharing your insight and your perspective with me and my audience. Thank you so much. So I know there's one question I also have here that I would still like to ask you before you go. How can we reach the
Okay.
pinnacle of human potential and self-development?
Well, that's what my book tries to give you a path to do that, and I think the key is to develop more and more trust, like internal trust between you and your parts, and help your parts to be as harmonious as possible. And this will allow you to the maximum amount of freedom, and it will feel effortless, and you can continually test yourself by putting yourself in these situations. Like with the Santa Daime, you can um, test whether your parts, whether you've developed sufficiently trusting relationships with your parts by challenging them in the Santa Daime context. And so this is a way of maximizing your self leadership and bringing you to the pinnacle of human development.
Oh, okay, so thank you so much. For those who would like to connect with you, learn more about your work and get your book, how can they do that?
Yeah, so the book has a website. The website is unburdened.biz. And we've been talking a little about the Santa Daime, but it can be very striking to see what it looks like. And the book has a promo video that features a Santa Daime ceremony that takes place on a shallow sandbar in the middle of the ocean, which is certainly would be a challenging context if it was happening for real. But it's just it's like a computer, what's it called? Like the video was put together by a computer graphics expert, so it's not like it's a bit of fiction, but it's mostly realistic. And I would invite your listeners to take a look at that video.
All right. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you for coming to Control or Be Controlled. I'm making this episode a very special episode for me and my audience. And to my listeners out there, I appreciate you guys for taking your time to tune in today for this wonderful episode. Do have a nice day, you all. Bye, Joshua.
Okay, bye. Thank you.